All right, welcome back to the next session of the Python exercise. I'm listening to a bit of music. I should reduce it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the data we were able to read from the file, and then save each detail in the database. Okay. So let's get it started. So the first thing you have to do is to import a library which will allow us to connect to a database, because you have to connect to the server. As I explained the last time, there's a client and a server, so we have to connect to the database. So the library we're gonna use is called, I think, psycopg. So just type here import psycop, yeah, psycopg2. So in case you don't have it, okay, like right now, I think it's unable to access it. Couldn't be from Okay, I will just go. We will have to import the library later. So I don't know how to do it. Okay, quick fix. Looks like it's unused. It's okay. Anyway, so the way it works is we're gonna have to write a query directly here. Okay, so I will explain later. Just follow through with my code. So what we're going to do is, as I said, we have to save. We created a database which was bank. No, the database is called Postgres. Sorry. So we first created a table called wires, and in it we'll have these different columns: the file ID column, the origin column, the file date column, the execution, etc. So before we do that, before we populate it, we first have to come back here. So we imported the library which we're gonna need. So now we have to establish the connection first. Okay, so to do so, I'll just write here, establish connection. This is just a comment, the Postgres database. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna call it con, and then we call the psych. Okay, and we do connect. All right, and inside we have the host. So the host is, take it's like an IP address. So since the database server is installed on our machine, on our computer, the host is gonna be localhost. Okay. So sometimes you might have to access a database which is online. You just ask, okay, what's the IP address? How can I reach this database online? And they just give you. The port is usually by default is the 5432 for Postgres at least. And the database is also by default is Postgres. And then the user is the user you use to connect to a database. So for me, usually it's Postgres, but for you, it can be something else you have given. When you created the server, usually it asks you, okay, can you give me the use of this database? So it's the user you have used on your side. Okay, and the password should be your password. So for me, it's Tor, Tor. So this here alone allows us to be to connect to the database. So which will be the local host, as I said. So we are telling it the server is on the machine. Like this is where the server is. This is the port through which you can reach the server. The name of the database is called Postgres, and your user and password which you need in order to connect to it. Okay, so now here, as you remember, let me see if I can run it again. Okay, I have an error already with Psycop. I'll come back to it later because it's unable to install it. So I'll show you how to install it later. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to write a query to save into the database we have, okay? Like a normal query. So this how it is on Python. So you just write, for example, order query, because that's what we want to save, okay? And then we say do like these three columns like this. So you write just like a normal query. You write into a database into, and then we write bank. Okay, why bank? This should be the schema you created, because as you remember earlier, I said you create a schema called bank in which you create a table. Just to explain it, like in database, it's like take like how do they call it? Pardon my English. Uh, how is it? Oh, and uh, French. Uh, a cabinet. Yeah, it's like a cabinet. So it's like a cabinet, and it's like a cabinet. So you can see here, we take this database, take it for example as if this is a database. So this is a schema, this is a schema, this is a schema. That's where we put our documents. This is also a schema. We put things in there, we store things in there. This is a schema. So in our case, this schema is like a bank. This schema is maybe credit stuff. I don't know, whatever. You get me, employees and such. Okay. So we are going to save into the database. We're going to write a query, and the way it works in Python, we have to pass data like parameters. So this is what it's gonna look like. So we have here insert into bank dot. So the schema we say dot wires, the name of the table, and then we give the name of the columns we want. So it will be file ID, origin, file date, execution date, beneficiary account, etc. And then we write the values. So you're mostly, I assume you're used to where you put the value directly here, but um, Python helps us to, because when you have to write each value, sometimes you are writing integers, sometimes writing characters, it can take some time. So what Python allows us to do, or usually the library Psycop, you can just pass parameters. So these are parameters, and it will just know automatically what to put in there at how do I say it, at a later date. Okay, so this is the equivalent of having something like this. See, so here I just did a small animation just to explain. So this is basically the same thing. You have the file ID here, and then these are the value which we are going to pass to Python. Okay, to just know automatically this is what I have to put in there. So let's get back to this. Actually, I think I can just copy this, and I will link it into the description of the video. So I just write it here. So now we have yeah. So okay, I think it's correct so far. Yeah. Okay. So now we are done. Now we have to use, this is the, so this will be our query. Okay, this will be our query, which we're going to send to the database. So to do so, we're gonna say you write with con cursor. I can explain later if you don't understand, but just for now, just go with me. Cursor, okay, and then you write cursor execute. So here we first pass the query, so which will be order query, and then now we open again two more parent, another parent, and this time we're gonna pass all the values we have here. Yeah, one thing I have to mention is the number of parameters you have here has to be equal to the amount of columns you have written over here. So as you can see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're gonna pass the data we need. Okay. So I'm gonna pass the file ID here first. Okay. I don't know if I can have everything here. So I'll just delete this. We don't need this anymore because we know we're able to read it. I'll just delete them. That way we can have all the on the screen can show. So we'll just write file ID. I'll pass the file ID, the value of file ID. Then I'll pass the value of this origin here. Okay, and such, and file ID, file date, sorry. Then I'll pass the execution date. Then I'll pass the beneficiary, sorry, execution date. So what I always say is, so right now I'll pass the beneficiary, but for a better readability of the code, we can just write, this is the beneficiary account, even if in the XML file, the name is beneficiary, so that the person who's gonna read the code will know, okay, the beneficiary account comes from this line. So, all right, beneficiary account. Origin account here, I'll just write origin account. Okay, so that it can be more origin account. So for now, we have the amount, the exponent, and the currency. So for now, we just say wire amount. So here also I'll just write it again and call it wire amount. So we call it wire amount. And we just say, and this one we call it wire amount currency. Okay. So we call it wire amount currency. And basically that's it. So we have origin, file date, execution date, beneficiary. Yeah. So after it is done, I think it's over. So we have to, now you can just send it and it should work. So we come back here to the line with, because this is, you have to remember this code is executing within the loop, so it's iterating 1, 2, 3 times, so it has to save for each line it's reading. So that's why after we close the connection which we opened here, because you always have to close the connection after you have used the whatever you did, that the connection, you what you wanted to do with it. For example, you want to read, you want to do, after that, it's always advised to close it, because a database has a number of limited connection, and sometimes opening too many connections can affect your other applications where they're unable to read because there's no connection available. So always have to close it, and also have to commit the change in the database. So you just try commit, okay, and then later we just do close. That's it. So right now I'll pause the video and try to see, because I'm not used to working with Visual Studio, how to import. I'll just check and come back. So actually I think instead of just fixing it, I'm going to show you how it's always wise to look for it on the internet. Okay, so I went on Google, and as you can see, I have this issue. Okay, so I copied this problem, and I'm working from VS Code, right? And then I wrote it on Google. So it took me to this page here on Git, on Stack Overflow. So you'll have to get used to using Stack Overflow every time you have an issue. I advise you to always try to fix it by going and looking on the internet and such. So as you can see here, they're saying we have to open the command palette with, and also you can see the number of answers, like upvotes they got. So maybe I think it's gonna work. So we open the command palette using Control Shift P. So I'm just gonna come here. I'm gonna do Control Shift P. Then after I have done it, okay, I think I should just put them side by side to be much better. So here we'll just do like this. Okay, I'll just reduce it like this for us. So he said, okay, this is much better. So Control Shift E, then we write Python. Okay, we look for select interpreter. Okay, and then what did select Inyo. Okay, I think it's this one. Okay, then from the which create an RNA. Then they said what? Control Shift. Okay. Usually, yeah. Okay, let's try something here. Come to the terminal here. Okay, just right here. Write pip install, and then write. So let me show it to you again. Here you have an issue. Come here. Write pip install c pop g2. Let's see if it's gonna work. No, it's not working. Because looks like that's what they did, correct? Okay. Okay, we're gonna do another way from looks like we just come to the extension here. Then we look for Pylance, I think. So it looks like it's already there. So I don't understand why. So yeah, so I think I found it. Let's try again. So we press Control Shift P, then you write Python create environment like this, Python create environment, or you can just write Python create environment, and then from there create a new VNDV environment in your current workspace. You select the one you have. So it's doing it. Let's see. It's creating it. We have then. So I think it's this one. We can try. Oh, sorry. Let's see. No, it's not this one. Like, oh, G2. No, it's not. So looks like they said we write NG. No. E. No, I'm trying to find the solution. V and V. Okay. V and V. V and V. No. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Looks like why is it so hard for such a simple thing? Let's see. Control Shift P. Done. Configure test. Let's see if we have one. New terminal. Okay. Let's see. Go to terminal. New terminal. All right. What did he say again? Terminal. Let's see if it's version. Okay, it's working. What did he say? PP stop, Psycop. Okay, let's try again. Stop. And then we write Psycop over there on top. Psycho PG2. Okay. Mhm. Wait. Okay, now it has worked actually. Good. So if I run this now, I guess it wrote everything correct because there's some error here. So you can just come and check. Alright, select from link. There's now. Ah, look, it wrote all of our files inside the database. Okay, I think I'll have to keep this video very short so you can see. All right, I will. So as you can see, now the data is properly inside the database. So in the next video, the few things I have to mention first is that we should never keep the user and password into our how do I say it, into our code, because when we're gonna send it to Git, somebody can just come and read the code and have access to our credentials to access the database. And also in the next video we're going to refactor a bit our code. By refactoring I mean just make our code look a bit much better. Okay, yeah, and that's it.